वो लोग बात चल रहा है तो संदीप बस बैठता है तो बता।
Ravi, can we mute all?
I guess you know. अच्छा अच्छा
Ravi, mute all. Yeah, that's better. So would you like to start, Jiten? Jiten, you are also mute.
Yeah, hi. Let's wait for 2 minutes. Let people join. A lot of people are joining in. Ravi, Hemant को co-host बना देना.
So we already have 90 participants. We already have 90 participants, sir. The maximum limit is 100.
No, non-video can you can go more.
Okay, okay.
Okay, let's start. Manoj Basari, can I please request you to introduce our doctor on board?
Okay, thank you, Jiten. Good morning, guys. Good morning, friends. Dr. Anjan Sivotia is a cardiologist associated with B.M. Birla Heart Research Center in the capacity of Director, Interventional Cardiology. He returned to India in 2012 after spending 14 years in UK, studying and working with leading experts in cardiology. At an age of just about 45, he has a huge cardiac procedural experience of more than 10,000 such procedures, which includes angioplasty, pacemaker, etc., etc. He has published more than 25 papers in various international journals and regularly gets invited to talk at national and international cardiac conferences. He is the only HRS US certified cardiac device specialist in the whole of Eastern India. Today, Kolkata is proud of his son, Dr. Anjan Siotia's achievements, also appreciates the fact that having done his MBBS from Calcutta Medical is back to the city with a motto to serve the society. His extraordinary skills coupled with humanitarian approach, more particularly the way he makes his patients feel comfortable, is the talk of the town, and that's what led him to be one of the most sought after cardiologists in no time. That was a small introduction of Dr. Anjan Siotia. Over to you, JC.
Thank you, Manoj. पापा कहते हैं बड़ा नाम करेगा, बेटा हमारा ऐसा काम करेगा. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to another session of Papa JC Talk Show. The song was specially dedicated to Dr. Anjan Siotia as it motivated this handsome college boy to become a doctor. Hi, Doc.
Hi, Jiten.
It's such an honor to have you on board today.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much for having me here on this show, and thanks a lot, Manoj Pasari, for this lovely introduction. I've been to various meetings and forums, and I don't think I've ever been introduced in such glowing terms. So thank you very much, Manoj.
Thank you, Manoj. Thank you, Dr. Saab, for your kind words this way. Dr. Saab, please allow me to take you through the purpose of our talk shows and our journey so far. Our only purpose is to add value to our viewers and participants during the lockdown period. Doctor, so far we have had amazing sessions by most renowned doctors on their respective fields. Dr. Bimal Chajar spoke about healthy habits for prevention of heart diseases. Dr. Sarfaraz Beg was excellent when he spoke about how the side effects of alcohol on our body and how to use it and misuse it. Rather, the misuses of alcohol was also very beautifully highlighted by him. Dr. Vinay Mahendra yesterday spoke about UTI and their remedies. Besides, we've had dancing sessions by Amit and Dorothy, cocktail tips by Mr. Irfan Ahmed, video making by Hemant Chhabria, some remedies, home remedies by Sri Ajay Gupta, and selfie tips by Rajesh Gupta. So we've had fantastic sessions so far. I think I'm
Great.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, yes,
Start
of
your
course,
video.
carry on.
Jesse, start your video.
Oh, video is off, yeah? I didn't realize. Start my video. Oh, sorry. I went off video. Okay.
Never mind.
Can you see me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I was talking about this. Now we have today on board one of the famous doctors on heart, and we would like him to tell us first the connection of this song with in his life.
Right. To tell you the truth, JC, there is no connection actually. But the
Okay.
problem is everybody, when people see me, people meet me, socially, they ask me a couple of questions. And the two common questions I get asked is, number one, why did you come back from England? I mean, you lived in England for so long, 14 years, you have British citizenship. Why did you decide to come back to India? And then people ask me, why did you decide to become a cardiologist? Now, unfortunately, I don't know the answers to these two questions. I don't know why I came back. I just wanted to come back to India, so I came back. It's as simple as that. It's not that one morning I got up and decided I need to go to India. I always wanted to, and I did that. Similarly, why I became a cardiologist, again, I don't know the answer. I mean, as far as I remember, I wanted to become a cardiologist even before I wanted to become a doctor. So that is the truth. It sounds very funny, but I never wanted to become a doctor, so as to speak. It was always cardiology for me. And I find it difficult to make people understand why anyone would want to become a cardiologist without any reason. So I thought of this interesting idea. When people ask me, why have you decided to become a cardiologist? I say, oh, because I watched Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak when I was a child. And that's when I decided to become a cardiologist. And that kind of interests people, then they want to know more. Okay, oh, why Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak? We all watched the movie. None of us thought of becoming a cardiologist after watching the movie. And then I tell them that when Amir Khan sung that famous song, Papa Kehte Hain, that's when I decided to become. And that confuses people. Oh, what has that song got to do with cardiology? And then I remind them that song had a line. बंदा ये खूबसूरत काम करेगा दिल की दुनिया में अपना नाम करेगा.
Oh,
Excellent.
That's when I heard that song, I thought, oh, I have to do the same. Dil ki duniya mein apna naam karna hai. So I always wanted to become the best cardiologist in the city, and the song may have inspired me. So that's the story.
great.
Well done. Manoj, would you like to start off with some questions if you have?
Okay. Again, Jiten, thanks. So the idea of today's talk show is that Dr. Siotia would like to have more of an interactive session rather than a presentation as such. So Jiten, so far, the sessions which we have had with doctors in particular, we have seen a lot of repetitions in questions, which we would like to avoid. If we have a very senior doctor, we would not like to waste his time and would not like to, drag the session with repetition of questions. So to avoid repetition of questions, we have tried and tabulate the questions which audience already have in mind. So that tabulation is there with you, Jiten. So we might start firing those questions one after the one. We will also take a few questions directly from the audiences. So to start with, I would like to pose one question to Dr. Anjan Siotia, which probably is at the back of the mind of most of us. Is that what are the signs of for a layman or for a normal human being who doesn't have any medical idea? What are the signs of a heart attack, and how does a non-medical person identifies that it's a heart attack, and how should one handle it at home?
So yes, very, very good question to start with. Of course, the commonest disease that we as cardiologists deal with or treat on a day-to-day basis is a heart attack. Okay, and when you talk about cardiology, everybody talks about heart attack. So it's good to start with heart attack and to tell people. I think I would take this opportunity to tell people what a heart attack is, and then we will talk about the management of heart attack. So before I start explaining what a heart attack is to people, to your viewers, I would like to start at the basics first of all, and explain to the audience what a heart actually is. Okay, so heart is basically an important organ in the chest cavity which pumps blood into the body. So it supplies blood to the entire body. But the heart also needs blood on its own for its own nourishment. Okay, so if you visualize your heart, if you think about your heart, our heart is like a house. So then the question is, how is it like a house? So just like a house is made up of bricks. Okay, our heart is made up of small heart muscles. A house has got rooms in it. Okay, similarly, heart has got 4 chambers in it.
Chambers.
In our house, there are doors in between those rooms. In the heart, there are valves which open and close with every heartbeat to allow the flow of blood in one direction. What else do we have in the house? So we have the pipes. We have the drainage system, pipes which bring water to our house. Similarly, the heart has got its own draining system, pipes that we call arteries. And these arteries bring blood to the heart for its own nourishment, to supply blood to the heart muscles. And last but not the least, a house has got its own electrical conduction system, electrical wires that bring electricity to the house. Similarly, the heart has got its own electrical supply. It produces its own electricity. And we will talk about it later on during the show when we talk about other cardiac diseases. So the heart has got its own electrical conduction system. So this is what a house is, a heart is. Okay. Now, when we talk about these pipes that bring blood to the heart, these arteries that bring blood to the heart, these arteries, when we are born, are completely smooth, the inside of the artery. There are no blockages. So the blood can flow freely into our heart through those arteries. But as we grow older, a lot of people start getting blockages inside these arteries. And you will hear this term blockages quite a lot during this discussion. So our arteries start to get blocked gradually. And it's a very gradual process, very, very gradual process. It was during the Second World War that it was found that young people, young kids as young as 16, 18, 20, who were fighting in the World War and then who died in the World War, and they underwent autopsy, post-mortem, these minor blockages, cholesterol deposits or plaques, as we call it, in the heart artery. So this process starts very early, young adulthood, and then carries on throughout our life in a lot of people. Now, this is not a problem as long as it progresses slowly. If it becomes tight at a later stage in your life, it can cause what is called angina. By that, we mean chest pain on exertion. So when people walk or do or exert themselves, they get pain. When they rest, the pain gets better. Even that is not life-threatening. That is not dangerous.
I think your bandwidth is very slow, very low.
Heart attack.
Dr. Saab, your bandwidth is low, so you are.
Sorry, there's not a lot I can do about it.
Okay, never mind.
Shall I go slowly? Shall I speak slower?
No, I think this, let's keep it like this because it's showing that Dr. Anjan Siotia's network bandwidth is low right now. So never mind. It's okay, it'll come back.
Okay.
Because we don't want to miss even a word of your speech. What you're talking is making a lot of sense to us. That's why I interrupted in between. Just a minute.
So can you all hear me or can you not hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, but voice is cracking sometimes.
In the meantime, can I ask all my friends here, all the guests, to please go mute because we want him to be more audible. And if possible, can you all go off your videos because I think today we are totally packed. So that
we have reached.
Manoj, we have totally packed, so the bandwidth could be a disturbance. So request all to please go off your videos too. Please go off your videos and go mute, please. It's a request to all of you to please go off your videos. Let's listen to him. It's very interesting, and we really want to make the most of this opportunity. Ravi, are they all off videos? And Ravi, can we have a setting that nobody goes mute unless nobody can switch off the mute part? Allow them not to go on mute until we open it for them in the chat setting, because I think we want to have it going well now. Okay, Dr. Saab, please resume. I think it'll make sense.
So I'll try to speak a bit slower. Um, so we were talking about the blockages in the heart arteries, and these blockages progress very gradually, very slowly over decades to become tight. Then what happens is, and nobody knows what the trigger is, what the cause is, but one fine day, a blood clot forms inside the artery at the site of that blockage. So for example, let's say a person has a 80% blockage in the heart artery that has developed over last 40 years. Okay, it has taken 40 years for an artery to have 0% blockage to go to 80% blockage. And then one fine day at that blockage site, a blood clot forms and the artery gets blocked completely. It becomes 100%. So the blood flow to the heart muscles is stopped suddenly. And when that happens, there is damage to the heart muscles. And this is what is heart attack. So heart attack occurs, it's a sudden event. It occurs when there is a sudden blockage of the artery of the heart by a blood clot. And nobody can usually foresee that event. Nobody can say that, you are going to have a heart attack tomorrow. This is 80% now. So 3 months later or 6 months later, you will have a heart attack. No, you can't predict that. I am a cardiologist. I can have a heart attack after 10 minutes and I will not be able to predict it now. So it's not something that anybody can predict. It happens suddenly and with devastating consequences. Because if you have a big heart attack and if you don't get treated, then 50% of the patients die within 1 month. Most of these deaths, 70% of these deaths, at least 2/3 of these deaths due to a heart attack will occur within 1 hour of the symptoms, usually within minutes of the symptoms originating. So most people who have a heart attack and who die from a heart attack, they die before they see a doctor, before they reach a hospital. Okay, so I have tried to explain what triggers a heart attack, what exactly a heart attack is in pathological terms, that it's a sudden blockage of the heart artery. It causes stoppage of blood flow to the heart muscles, leading to damage of the heart muscles, and it is dangerous. Then the question that Manoj asked me, what are the symptoms of a heart attack? So I can tell you what the textbook description of a cardiac event, a heart attack is, but the truth is not everybody gets those textbook symptoms. Okay, people have very variable symptoms. Some people, especially Indians, especially diabetic patients, especially elderly females, some people don't have symptoms at all. They have what's called a silent heart attack. Okay, and even for a doctor, even for a reasonably experienced cardiologist like me, sometimes it's difficult to tell a patient whether his or her symptom is due to a heart attack or not. So I don't expect a patient, any of your listeners, to be able to diagnose when they get a heart attack. It's very difficult, almost impossible in certain cases without investigation. But the symptoms to look out for is number one, chest pain. So chest pain is the most important symptom of heart attack. The pain can be, in textbook description, center of the chest. Okay, so the heart is on the left side of the chest, but usually the typical cardiac pain is in the center of the chest, not on the left side. Okay, but having said that, the pain can be anywhere. It can be on the left side, it can be on the right side, it can be upper part of abdomen, it can be at the back, it can be on the shoulders, it can go down the arms, left arm more than the right arm, it can go up to the jaw. Okay, it never goes above the jaw, it never goes below the umbilicus, below the navel. So anywhere between your umbilicus, between your belly button and your jaw, you can get a cardiac pain. Okay, it can be anywhere. So this is the most important symptom, chest pain or chest discomfort or chest heaviness, whatever, however a patient may describe it. Some people describe it as if an elephant is sitting on my chest. Some people describe it as if somebody has tied a belt around their chest and tightening it. Some describe as if somebody is stabbing them. So it's different people describe it different way. In India, funnily, the most common description of a heart attack is, Dr. Babu, humko gas ho gaya. So everybody describes a heart attack as gas, almost everybody. So most people who come to us in hospital with heart attack, they, even after you tell them that it's a heart attack, they will say, no, 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 it's not a heart attack. I know it's gas. I had a Limca and it got better. So when somebody comes me that I have gas and that gas was severe enough for that person to drink Limca, I get worried. Nobody tells me that they are drinking Limca. Limca is not something that you hear every day. But when Indians have gas, they drink Limca. So gas or too much of gas is a very common symptom of cardiac chest pain in our society, I have seen. So this is the common symptom. In addition to chest pain, people may get breathlessness. People may get sweating, severe sweating. They may feel nauseous and start vomiting. So all these are other symptoms of cardiac chest pain or heart attack. But as I said, the symptoms can be very variable. Symptoms can be completely absent, especially in diabetic patients. Then the next question was, Manoj, what do you do? How do you treat it? So the simple one word answer is you can't treat a heart attack yourself. So don't even try. My single most important advice to everybody who is watching this show, if you remember one thing from this show, this is what you should remember, that if you suspect anybody to be having a heart attack, any of your loved one, friend, relative, yourself, by God forbid, the only and the most important thing you should do is take that person to a hospital that is equipped to deal with heart attack. And the reason I say that is, most patients who die from a heart attack, almost two-thirds, and this is worldwide data, 66% of patients who die from a heart attack, they die before they reach hospital. Once you manage to transfer a patient to a hospital, then the risk of dying goes down, because in hospital you can get treated immediately. So the most important advice is get the patient to a hospital that is equipped to deal with a heart attack, get an ECG done. That is the most important test, single most important test. The problem in our society is most of us, and let's be honest about it, let's be fair to everybody. In our society, we all, patients, are scared to go to hospital. They think if you go to the hospital will fleece you, they will admit you, they will make.
Got disconnected, I think, Anjan.
Signal is low. I think we have to wait because his signal at his end is very low. So we've had, so far we've had interesting inputs from him. He was talking about different symptoms. They are the symptoms that are available on textbook symptoms that we call them. Dr. Siotia, Dr. Siotia is, I think his signal is low.
Let me
Manoj,
try, please.
Manoj, can you please call
I'm
him?
trying. Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Just tell him. And in case we have to admit him again, because we are sitting at 100 already, so we might have to exit someone to make him enter. We are sitting at 100 and our capacity is 100, so we might have to exit someone. Anybody who is using two phones from the same house may please exit to allow Dr. Siotia to come in again. Manoj, please talk to him. In the meanwhile, let's talk about whatever he has said so far. There are different symptoms, the textbook symptoms, which may not be real symptoms. Yeah, can you hear me?
Jitain, he's trying to reconnect, but we will have to make provision for him. Somebody will have
Yeah,
to
there is a
out,
provision. Don't worry, Manoj.
Okay,
Yeah,
then it is fine.
Don't enter anymore.
If there is a provision, then it is fine.
Okay, talking about different symptoms, there's a complication on symptoms here because he says that the textbook symptoms may show heart attack in the center of your heart, but actually aisa hota nahi hai. It may go right up to your this area or up to your belly button. I mean, this is something very scary. And then he says, do not attempt anything for the patient. If you feel he has a heart attack, take him straight away to the hospital. While he returns, let me update you for tomorrow's session. Tomorrow we have an interesting session by DJ Girish. He's going to talk about music and how to play as a DJ at home while during the lockdown period, have fun every day evening with music and with family. I think we have a lot of people waiting now in the waiting room.
Yeah.
Why did someone enter someone? Queue enter kar rahe? Let's not add anymore.
No. We are not entering anybody.
99 से 100 हो गया फिर से.
No, I don't know how that happened. It was it is 98 right now.
Please don't add. Please don't add further. Let's keep provision because, guys, wait on, hang on. We are trying to connect with them. Manoj, can you please call him up?
I did that. Let me again try.
I think we should wait because his signal was pretty low. Or if you can advise him to use his phone for this thing. His Wi-Fi may not be proper right now. So
Yeah, he's trying with another device now. The bandwidth in the laptop is not working, so he's trying with another device now. Hopefully, we will get him back soon.
I think he's coming in. In the meanwhile, as I said, for tomorrow we have DJ Girish. We are trying to get Dr. Devashish Datta on Wednesday. He's going to talk about gastric symptoms of our digestive systems. In between on Tuesday, we have something to do with happiness and how to do meditation. He'll take us into meditation, a simple course of meditation, 10 minutes of session that he will give us a meditation. We should experience it. And then we also are trying to get a doctor on eyes. So there's a huge thing happening, and we're also trying to get a good RJ from Delhi. Names not to be mentioned, but he is one of the top RJs of Delhi. Has he come in?
No.
No, not as yet.
He should be coming. I think he should use his wife's phone to log in. Can we?
No, that's what I told them.
I'll reshare the link with him.
Please do that.
Never mind, ये सब तो होता रहता है यार.
No, that's fine. That's fine. You can't help it. This is beyond your reach.
Can you call his wife up, Manoj? I think she'll talk.
Yeah. Let me admit him.
Is there?
Yeah.
Okay. And rest, please switch off your videos to allow the bandwidth to be normal. And Ravi, please make him the co-host.
Yeah, is he back?
Yeah.
Hi, welcome back.
Yeah.
We almost had a heart attack without you. Oh, it's such an interesting session. Actually, you won't believe I'm making notes.
बाद में एग्जाम लूंगा जितेन.
I swear, अब तो लगता है सारे डॉक्टर्स को एग्जाम देना पड़ेगा मेरे को.
I'm extremely sorry. I'm very happy that I was able to prevent 100 heart attacks at a time by logging back.
Thank you for being back.
Yeah, extremely sorry. Let's hope that I stay connected. Can everybody hear me, see me?
Yes, perfect.
Yeah.
You're very good now. Very good.
Right. So we were talking about the symptoms of heart attack. So the treatment. We talked about the symptom and the treatment. So first thing is to get to a hospital and get the diagnosis done. Now, big heart attacks, you will always see on ECGs. Okay. They are the ones which are most important. You don't want to miss them. So get an ECG done. And if it is a big heart attack, then you have to get immediate treatment. The sooner you are treated, the better the result is. And the best treatment for a big heart attack is you have an artery that is blocked by a blood clot and you have to unblock that artery. Okay. And the best way to unblock that artery is to do a procedure called angioplasty. And we will talk about it later. So the best way to treat a heart attack is to do an immediate angioplasty. And you have to do it immediately. So for example, in our hospital in BM Birla, if anybody comes with a heart attack, we try to open the blocked artery within 60 minutes of that patient entering our hospital. So the entire procedure is finished. From the moment the patient enters, we make a decision that an angioplasty needs. The patient is immediately prepared, transferred to the cath lab, angiogram is done, We find out which artery is blocked and we open it. So that is the best treatment. But some people cannot afford an angioplasty, in which case a blood thinner medicine can be given that can transiently open the artery. So that's also an available treatment. So that's the best treatment for a heart attack. So we have talked about what heart attack is, how it happens, what the symptoms are, what the test required to do a heart attack is, and how to treat it. Okay, so I hope it's clear to the viewers, but if there are any questions, I'm very happy to take them at a later stage. I think Manoj may want to continue and ask questions that he has got from his friends and colleagues over the last 2 days. Is that correct, Manoj?
So if we, yeah, that's perfectly all right. Thanks, Sanjay. Okay, Jiten, you would like to shoot out the questions one by one now?
Yes, Manoj. Yeah, thank you so much,
Please.
Manoj. Doc, we have got several questions. I've divided them into two parts. One is the generic questions, and then there are some personal questions. Can you hear me, Doc?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
So let's go by for the generic questions first. I think
Sure.
that by far should explain all the other answers. Now, the
Sure.
first question that we have here is, who is more prone to this disease of heart attack?
Very good question again. Thank you. Nobody is immune from a heart attack. Let's start with that. So anybody, any of us sitting here in our homes, watching this, listening to this, any of us can get a heart attack, and that includes me. So nobody is ever protected from a heart attack. Okay? Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you drink, whatever medicines you take, whatever procedures you undergo. So some people think that they've had an angioplasty, they will never have a heart attack. Or they've had a bypass surgery, they will never have a heart attack. So that's not correct. Okay? So anybody can get a heart attack, and you cannot reduce your risk of having a heart attack to zero ever. So nobody can say that I have done this. Now my risk of having heart attack is zero. You cannot do that. What you can do is you can reduce your risk. For example, you have diabetes, you are a smoker, you are obese, you don't exercise, your risk is very high. But by adopting healthy lifestyle changes, and we will talk about it, you can reduce your risk from here to here. For example, let's hypothetically speaking, your risk of having a heart attack is say 20% per year because you are a high risk individual. Then by adopting healthy lifestyle, you can reduce your risk from 20% to say 2% or 1% or 0.5%, but it never goes down to zero. So the question was, who is at a higher risk? So to answer that question, you need to know what the risk factors for heart are. And I'll talk about them in a minute. But nobody is immune from heart attack, and everybody is at some risk. So the risk factors for heart attack are, some are kind of non-modifiable risk factors like age. Now, as we grow older, our risk of having heart attack increases. So a 60-year-old man will have a higher risk than a 30-year-old man. But I probably see at least 1 to 2 patients every year with heart attack who are in their 20s. So it's rare, but it does happen. We do see patients time to time, 1 or 2 cases a year in their 20s with heart attack. I will probably see at least a patient every month in the 30s with heart attack. And 40s, 50s, 60s, so it's a daily thing. We don't even bat an eyelid. So age, but yes, most of our patients are older rather than younger. So that's number one. Number two is gender. So men, interestingly, are at a higher risk of having heart attack compared to women. Or to put it in a different way, women have half the risk of heart attack compared to men. So females are protected. So these are non-modifiable risk factors. Similarly, your family history, if your parents have a history of heart attack, then you are at a higher risk. Again, that's non-modifiable because it's genetic. There is not a lot you can do about it. You can't change your genes. Okay, so these are non-modifiable risk factors. And next is modifiable risk factors. So risk factors that you as an individual can modify to reduce your risk of having a heart attack. Am I audible to everybody or am I going too fast?
Yes, you're going too good. You're doing good. We can hear you.
Okay. So what are these modifiable risk factors? The most important, single most important modifiable risk factor is tobacco, smoking. Smoking or tobacco in any form, jarda, kheni, gutka, whatever. So tobacco is the most important risk factor, single most important risk factor for heart disease worldwide. After that, it's diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, stress, lack of exercise. So these are risk factors for heart attack. Obesity is a risk factor. So not everybody has all the risk factors, but a lot of us have some risk factor. Some are smoking, some are not exercising, some are diabetic, some have high pressure, some have diabetes and high pressure. Most of us have stress. That includes me as well. So all of us have some risk factor. So that means all of us can work around those risk factors to try and reduce our risk. Okay. How we do that is up to us. So if you are a diabetic, see a good diabetologist. Make sure your diabetes is under good control. If you are overweight, try and reduce your weight. If you're not exercising enough, exercise. If you have high blood pressure, get it checked regularly. Make sure the blood pressure is under control. Stress, try if possible not to get too stressed. I know everybody is stressed these days about corona. So don't get too stressed about things and try to manage stress in a better way. So how you do these things is up to you. But if you can do that, then you can reduce your risk of having heart attack. Again, I repeat the same thing. It will not go down to zero. So I have people coming and telling me, oh, doctor, I eat healthy and I exercise every day and I don't have diabetes and I don't smoke. Why did I get a heart attack? So it does happen occasionally. People without any risk factors also get a heart attack. But in general, the higher your risk, the higher your chances of getting a heart attack.
Perfect. Thank you so much, doctor. We have another question coming up. A person who do not have any signs as such, but can be an asymptomatic heart patient, what should he do for diagnosis and how often?
Fantastic question. So your viewers are asking all very difficult, very interesting questions.
In fact, Dr. Saab, we have actually made a WhatsApp group where the questions have been created by the members of the group. And these are a lot of viewers from here are part of that group. So before we come up to the session, we make these questions and we ask the doctor straight away.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's what I thought. I never thought you were intelligent enough to formulate such interesting questions. So now you clarify. Well done, Jiten. So jokes apart, the truth is that a large number of heart attacks we see, and this is worldwide, not just in my practice, the patients who come to us with heart attack, that is the first episode ever they have had of a cardiac problem. So these people who get heart attack, they've never had any problem in life. And the first time they know is when they have a heart attack. So this question is very relevant. How asymptomatic people, most of us, I hope fall in that category, find out what is wrong with them. So sometimes it's impossible. Whatever you do, you may never find out that there's a problem in your heart. You can do lots of tests. After all, I can't be doing angiography on everybody because an angiogram is the only test that will tell us if there are blockages in your heart artery. And you can't be doing angiograms on everybody. Okay, it's just not possible. It's not required. It's not at all needed. What we do is we do simple tests. Like, you first of all assess your risk. So for example, you know your risk factors, whether you are diabetic or not, you have high pressure or not, you smoke or not. If you're a high risk individual, you can do simple non-invasive tests like treadmill test. So a treadmill test is a very, very important test that will tell us if there is any tight blockage in your heart arteries. Minor blockages you may not see on TMT, but tight blockages, usually we will see something on treadmill test. There's another test that we can do these days called CT scan of the heart, CT coronary angiogram. Again, the test involves a lot of radiation. The test involves dye. So it's not something that people should have repeatedly. Every 2 year or 3 year, I'm doing a CT angio. No, I'm not advocating that at all. But that is also a good test to see if you have blockages. But sometimes, it's not required to actually know whether you have a heart blockage or not. Okay. what I would recommend is don't bother about what's inside your heart. Okay, try to follow healthy lifestyle measures and try to reduce your risk to however minimum you can get it down to without worrying too much about whether I have got a blockage or not. People get too hung up about these things. Oh, doctor, I want to know whether there's a blockage in my heart artery. And that is nonsense. Don't bother about it. Exercise regularly. Yes, if you have symptoms when you are exercising, you are getting breathless, you are getting chest pain, then always consult your doctor.
Perfect. Perfect. The next question in line is, what is angiography? And is it something that one should be scared of?
No is the simple answer. Angiogram is a very, very simple test. Okay. It takes me 2 to 3 minutes, 5 at the most to do an angiogram. It is simple. It is painless. I mean, I've done, I don't know, 7, 8, 10,000 angiographies, and it's very, very simple. We do it from the wrist these days from here. Okay. We just give some local anesthesia here so that patients don't get any pain. Put a tube, put a channel in the artery of the wrist, and then through that pass a catheter that goes to the heart, and then inject a dye in the heart arteries and take X-ray pictures. The purpose of an angiogram is to see if there are blockages in the heart arteries. Okay, it's very simple. There is usually no complication. Very, 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 very rare. So there is nothing to be scared of from an angiogram, which is a test. Now, after an angiogram is done, if you are found to have blockage, then you may need further treatment, like a bypass surgery or an angioplasty. Now, these procedures have a slightly higher risk of complications, like less than 1% for an angioplasty, 1 to 2% for a surgery. Okay, so again, they are also reasonably safe procedure, but they do have some risk. Angiogram on its own is very, very safe, very simple. Now, I am not advocating that all of you go tomorrow and get an angiogram done. No, it's not required, and don't get it done unnecessarily. Okay, but if it is required, if you have symptoms or if you do a treadmill test and that's abnormal, then it may be required, and then you should not shy away from it because it is a simple test.
Okay, doctor, here I'll ask a question, because I know a lot of people who have this fear in their mind that they have these symptoms showing some every day. Now, should they get it clarified by going for angiogram?
No. So, as I said, a lot of people have these minor symptoms. A lot of time this is psychological. A lot of time it's a part and parcel of the aging process. As we grow old, we have, at your age, probably you are not as fit as you were when you were 20 years old.
Absolutely.
Okay. So some of it is part and parcel of the aging process, but some of it may be real. Now, you are not a medical specialist. You don't know whether these symptoms you are having, if you are having any, is cardiac or not. Okay. So it is important that you take medical help. Now, for a doctor, let's for example, me, I am sitting in my chamber and patients come to me with their problem. Sometimes on the basis of their history that they give me, I can tell them that, look, this is a cardiac problem. Or I can tell them that, look, I don't think this is cardiac, go home. But in a lot of patients, even I am not sure whether their history is suggesting a cardiac issue or a non-cardiac issue. So then I have to do tests. And again, we go back to the same thing as we answered in the last question, test like treadmill test. So we can do a treadmill test or a non-invasive test. So I usually do not go to an angiogram straight away. Okay. You try and do a non-invasive test first, a simple, cheap test. 2,000 rupees, 10-minute job, done. I can send you, if I'm sitting in BM Birla, just round the corner behind my chamber, they are doing a treadmill test. You can go there, get the TMT done, come back to me. Show me immediately in half an hour time. And if it's normal, you go home happy that there's nothing wrong with you. If it's abnormal, then yes, of course, the next stage is an angiogram.
Perfect. Thank you. There's another question. Cardiac arrest and heart failure, are they one and the same thing?
So yes, again, very, very clever question, Jiten. I'm sure you did not think of it.
No, not me at all.
Yeah. This is a common problem. Okay, in India, people tend to use the wrong terminology for various conditions. So for example, heart attack is referred in our society as stroke. Okay. Whereas stroke actually means brain stroke, paralysis attack. A lot of people call heart attack as stroke ho gaya, stroke ho gaya. Similarly, a lot of time heart attack is referred to as cardiac arrest, that somebody has had cardiac arrest. Again, that is wrong. Heart failure is again something that is not understood by public by and large. So let us try and explain the difference between these things. So heart attack, I have told you what it is. Cardiac arrest means, for all practical purposes, cardiac arrest means the heart stops. So the patient is dead. So anybody who dies due to whatever cause, due to a cancer, due to a road accident, due to liver failure, everybody dies. The end event is a cardiac arrest.
Yes, cardiac arrest.
So cardiac arrest means death due to, it could be a heart attack, due to an accident. So when a patient with an accident dies, the heart stops eventually. When the heart stops, that time the doctor's call is he has had a cardiac arrest. The heart has stopped for whatever the reason may be. Okay, so cardiac arrest means death. Heart attack can lead to cardiac arrest. Brain stroke can lead to cardiac arrest. Cancer will eventually lead to cardiac arrest. So everything will lead to cardiac arrest in the end. So cardiac arrest means death. Sometimes we can reverse it. Somebody has had cardiac arrest, we can give shock to the heart and all that. I'm not going into that, to reverse it and bring the patient back to life. But that's cardiac arrest.
Perfect.
Next is heart failure. Just 1 second, Manoj. Just let me explain heart
Yeah,
failure.
that's fine. That's fine.
Heart failure is a condition. Heart failure is a disease when the heart becomes weak. Okay. So heart failure does not mean death. A lot of people say that, "Arey, he died because uska heart fail kar gaya." In common layman language that we speak of, we say, "Arey, that patient ka heart fail kar gaya and he died." So then when we say heart failure, people get scared that, oh, is my heart going to stop? Am I going to be dead? So the answer is no. Heart failure is a serious condition. It is a cardiac condition where the heart becomes weak. And it can become weak due to many causes. Okay. For example, a heart attack causes damage to the heart muscles and your heart can become weak. So you may get heart failure after a heart attack. You may get heart failure due to certain viral infections. Like for example, coronavirus. I'm sure you will ask me questions about corona in due course, but coronavirus can also lead to the heart becoming weak. So a lot of conditions can cause weakness of heart muscles. So the capacity of the heart to pump blood into the body becomes reduced. And that is heart failure, which is a serious condition, but it does not mean death. People with heart failure can go on and live for 5 years, 2 years, 10 years. Okay. But heart attack means something different. Cardiac arrest means death. So this is the difference between the three terminology.
So we have three things here. One is the heart failure, the other is heart attack, and the third is cardiac arrest. Cardiac arrest,
Yeah.
baat khatam. No choice.
Khatam, baat khatam.
Lovely. Dr. Sahab, ek
Okay.
question aa raha next wala. You want to say, Manoj? Yeah, please.
Yeah. Okay. One common question which I'm seeing on the chat box already being asked by four people, is that, when you are suspecting or when you are, guessing that you've had a heart attack or a heart issue, and as correctly suggested by you taking the so-called patient to the hospital, in the meantime, are we supposed to, administer him with a sorbitrat coupled with an ecosprin or another aspirin? Is that what
Yes.
one should do? This I'm sure, Anjan, this I'm sure you can, I may not get chance to ask you another question. So this I'm sure you will answer in yes and no. But I would like to, just to make the discussion and the things a little lighter, I would like to add another question to this. Ki often, Anjan, if you recollect, I'm sure, you are also a movie buff. तो पुरानी पिक्चरों में देखते थे, गर्लफ्रेंड छोड़ के भाग गई, बेटे ने बाप को कुछ बोल दिया, तो अचानक से दिल का दौरा पड़ता था स्क्रीन पे और वो छाती पकड़ के वहीं बैठ जाता था. तो ये प्रैक्टिकल लाइफ में भी होता है क्या? मतलब इस टाइप का स्ट्रेस से कैन यू एक्चुअली गेट हार्ट अटैक? ओवर टू यू.
Right, Manoj. So now I have understood something. Manoj wants to ask something, and then he says, I'm seeing this on the chat box, and that's why I'm asking this.
No, the chat box one was only about the EcoSprin and the Sorbitrate.
It's okay, Manoj. You don't need to clarify anything. I will give you the answer for the benefit of everybody else. You will also benefit from it. So the first question is very important. Yes, what should one do while transferring a patient to a hospital in the event of a suspected heart attack? Now, of course, you don't know if it's a heart attack or not. Okay. So yes, if you're suspecting somebody of having a heart attack, and if you can get hold of a Disprin tablet or an aspirin tablet, you can give that to the patient. And the patient can take the Disprin tablet and chew in the mouth or dissolve it in water and then drink it. So that is a very, very, very effective and the best treatment that you can give for a patient with suspected heart attack before they go to hospital. And if they come to hospital, that's what we do. The first thing we do is give them a Disprin tablet. Okay. So that's a very effective initial treatment for heart attack. Now, next,
Not Sorbitrate.
other thing you can, yeah. So Sorbitrate is not a treatment per se of heart attack. It will not prevent a heart attack patient from dying. It will not open the blocked artery if it's a big heart attack, but it will help in chest pain. It may reduce some patients' chest pain with heart attack. So again, if you have a Sorbitrate tablet with you, you can put that under the tongue. Having said that, I have seen Sorbitrate tablet being misused in our society. So anybody who gets anything, people put a Sorbitrate under the tongue. So that is not right as well. So I've seen people having blackouts, for example, due to low blood pressure, and somebody, gives them a Sorbitrate and their pressure goes down even further. So you should not do that. Okay, so don't give Sorbitrate for everything, but if somebody is having chest pain, then you can give Sorbitrate to reduce that pain.
Perfect. In the meantime, Manoj, can I take over?
Yeah, please. Over to you.
Manoj, I have a
But
request.
Anjan did not answer the tricky question.
Yeah, so the
Girlfriend
second
छोड़ के
question.
भागने से दिल का दौरा पड़ता है
Yes,
क्या?
girlfriend छोड़ के भागने दिल का दौरा. So that's very filmy. Okay, so that is very filmy. It does not happen in real life very frequently. Okay, but nothing is impossible. So I will not say that it will never happen. Yes, we do occasionally see from time to time a heart attack being triggered by certain untoward events in somebody's life. So it's not unusual that, something very stressful happens and as a result, somebody gets a heart attack. Now, जहाँ तक girlfriend छोड़ के भागने का सवाल है, I think that's highly unlikely because it usually happens in your young age when you are very,
Answer
very
pass.
less likely to have heart attack. But yes, at the age that we all are in, there may be other reasons. Share market crash may be one in a lot of people's life.
Lovely. Okay, Manoj, I need a favor from you. I see at least 48 questions lined up in the chat box.
Yes.
Please,
Yes.
could you sum up them into a small question? In the meanwhile, we continue with these questions here.
Yeah, please.
Please, thank you so much. Okay, I get to the next question straight away. In continuation with the girlfriend wala chakkar, log daru peete hain. Now, alcohol and heart ailments, कुछ connection है क्या? Does it really affect? मैखाने बेचता है दिल तोड़ के और फिर दिल खराब करके वहीं से बेचता है हमको मैखाने से.
हमको मालूम है जन्नत की हकीकत, लेकिन दिल को खुश रखने के लिए गालिब ये ख्याल अच्छा है.
अरे वाह वाह.
So alcohol is, it always gets people interested, excited. Whenever I'm doing lectures about heart disease, alcohol, when I talk about alcohol, at least all the men wake up. So yes, alcohol, I mean, I know Sarfaraz did a session a couple of days back and spoke about the bad effects of alcohol. But let me stick my neck out and say that alcohol is actually, let me rephrase it. Alcohol may actually be good for your heart if you consume it in small quantities.
Okay.
So the effect of alcohol on the heart is slightly confusing. A lot of studies have been done on alcohol. Some have shown beneficial results, some have shown bad results. But by and large, we believe that as far as heart attacks are concerned, alcohol do have a protective effect, but only if you drink small amounts on a regular basis. So a lot of people all over the world don't consume alcohol during the weekdays, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday they go bonkers. So that kind of a drinking will not probably help the heart. But if somebody is taking very small amounts, maybe one peg every day, that I use the word may have some protective effect on the heart. Now I must kind of make one thing very clear here, that I am a cardiologist and I am talking about the heart only. Do not forget that the same alcohol can have harmful effects on many other organs of your body. So for example, if you drink too much, too frequently, then it will have a dangerous effect on your liver. It will have a dangerous effect on your brain. It will also have dangerous effects on your nerves. If you drink too much, especially the elderly people, and it is seen in scientific studies, people who are drinking too much, they are more likely to have falls. Okay, they are more likely to have fractures. So these people who drink too much, elderly people especially, they fall and then they break their bones. So in the Western world, it's a big problem. Okay, so alcohol has its side effect, and I am not going to be advocating alcohol to anybody on this show. I certainly am not going to prescribe it on my prescription and give it to you. But if you consume alcohol already, then my advice to you is small quantities. Okay, 1 or 2 small drinks a day on a regular basis. And if you can control yourself, I won't say no to that. Let me put it that way.
Lovely. Thank you so much. Doctor Saab, thoda pani wani pee lijiye na, because you have a huge list of questions to answer. And I'm really feeling for you, sir. Kuch chai coffee kuch mangwa le. I could have offered that to you here.
I was hoping that after talking about alcohol for so long,
You will take me out for a beer.
Yeah.
Offer me a beer.
a nice
कहाँ से
beer would have
लाएंगे
been
sir?
nice.
आज
Yeah,
तो
it's
सब
Sunday
okay,
afternoon.
it's okay. चलिए ठीक है, पानी पी लेते हैं तब तक.
जी, sir. Lovely. Thank you so
Okay,
much. Let's get to the question. Manoj, can I continue? One more question, generic है, उसके बाद
okay.
specific में आ जाएंगे. The generic question, the last question is, how important is it to control and check cholesterol for a heart patient?
It is important. If you are a heart patient, then you will have to take the cholesterol reducing medication anyway. Okay, so for a heart patient, probably it's not important to check it every 3 months or 6 months. Not at all. I know some people do it. Some people are too careful with their lives, and they probably feel happy if they do a blood test every month. So don't do that, please. It's not required. Okay, unless you own a diagnostic lab, and if you want to make a lot of money out of it, I don't see any reason why that should be recommended. Okay, I certainly won't do it. So for people with heart disease, for example, somebody who has had a heart attack, I would check their cholesterol when they come in, but then I wouldn't check it every 3 months or 6 months. You take cholesterol medicine, again, you check it after a couple of months, make sure your cholesterol levels are controlled, and that should be fine. Once a year test to check your lipid profile is good enough for most of us.
Lovely. Thank you. Next question, we go on to the specific question. Manoj, have you compiled the questions?
Okay, right. I have. So there are a few questions which have already been answered. I would just like to, for the benefit of audience, I would just like to reiterate that, the golden period, which a lot of audience have asked, Anjan have already covered that. If I'm, correct me if I'm wrong, Anjan, that you said immediately should rush to the hospital. They die in 60
Get
minutes
an
and all
ECG.
that you mentioned.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
absolutely.
get an ECG done. That is what is silent attack. Again, is something, which probably, you are asymptomatic or there are no symptoms and you get the attack. That probably is the one.
Yes. So you may get
Okay,
breathlessness. You get other vague symptoms. Very difficult to diagnose it. My advice is, don't be scared. I know people are scared in India to go to hospitals, and it's a big problem. And I don't blame people. I blame the hospitals and the doctors for that, to be honest. We have created a system. We have created a society, unfortunately, in our country where honest people are scared to go to a police station if there is a crime against them. Isn't it? So unfortunately, it's very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate that we live in a country where if there is a crime committed in your house, you are scared to enter a police station because
True.
you don't trust the system. We are scared to enter a hospital because we think that they will fleece us. They are all cheats. My advice is at least get an ECG done as quickly as possible. Go to a place that you can trust and get an ECG done. It's very, very vital to get that early ECG. And you know, again, I must clarify it. There are a lot of people who don't know how to interpret an ECG. So go somewhere where you can see someone who can interpret an ECG. Okay. And then if a heart attack is detected, you can be given immediate treatment. It's very important to unblock that blocked artery immediately. If you leave it for too long, the damage will be done. If you do it after 10 hours, you know, nothing much will change. If you do it within 1 to 2 hours of a heart attack, you can reduce your heart muscle damage significantly. So we always say in cardiology that time is muscle. Normally we say time is money. Time is money. Everybody has heard of this. Time is money. But we in cardiology say time is muscle. So quicker you are, you will save heart muscle damage.
Okay. Manoj Jain. Okay, Manoj. You think?
Sorry, we have two more very common topics which have come up in the chat box. Is that one is heart disease generic, and second, what is cardiac myopathy?
Cardiomyopathy is a condition which means cardio means heart, myo means muscle, and pathy means pathology, which means damage or weakness. So cardiomyopathy means heart muscle weakness. So it's a condition where the heart muscles become weak. Okay. So the heart does not contract as effectively as it normally does. So that is what is cardiomyopathy. So we talked about heart failure. Earlier in the show, we talked about heart failure where the heart becomes weak. So one of the causes of heart failure is cardiomyopathy, heart muscle weakness. So for example, if people can see me, if this is the heart, let's say, you know, a bag, heart is basically a bag of muscle. Let's say this is the bag of muscle and the heart beats like this on a regular basis. Okay. This is how the heart beats. If the heart is weak, instead of beating like this, the heart will beat like this. So the heart contraction will not be like this. It will be like this. Okay. So the heart is weak. This is cardiomyopathy.
Okay.
And is it generic? Yeah, over to
Sorry,
you.
I didn't get the question, Manoj.
Is it generic? The heart disease, is it generic?
You mean genetic?
Genetic, yes.
Genetic. Sorry.
Yeah. So yes, cardiomyopathy can be genetic in a significant proportion of patients. The cause of cardiomyopathy is unknown in a lot of patients. But some people say 25%. I remember one of my boss in England, he used to say that almost 50% of cardiomyopathies are inherited. So they are inherited from one generation to the other. They are genetic in nature. So significant proportion of cardiomyopathies are genetic. A lot of them could be due to viral infection. A lot of them, we don't know the answer. Also, because we have talked about alcohol, let me tell you, if you consume too much of alcohol, alcohol can lead to cardiomyopathy. It's called alcoholic cardiomyopathy. Okay, so alcohol can also cause cardiomyopathy. Certain medications, especially cancer medications, they can cause cardiomyopathy. So cardiomyopathy can be caused by a lot of things. The commonest cause is genetic. Second probably is viral infection.
Perfect.
Over to you, JC.
In the meanwhile, friends, there are so many questions coming up. We cannot answer so many questions like this. Ideally, for the next session, whenever we have one, please join the WhatsApp group and compile the questions to be more organized. Because I say, if we go on asking questions where the answers have already been given, it becomes very difficult to address them. Going over to the specific question that we have formed in the WhatsApp group, this is from Manoj Jain. What tests should be done periodically to check the heart status except lipid profile? Should one get TMT also done periodically if age is within 50? Question number 2, what is the alternative to angiography, that is CT angio? Is that an alternative? The third part of the question is it advisable to get the angioplasty done at the time of angiography if your cardiac surgeon suggests, or one should wait to take decision, consult another surgeon or whatever, blah, blah. So let's go to question number 1. And what tests should we do apart from lipid profile?
Tough one. I can't give an answer that, I mean, it should be individualized. The simple answer to that is, everybody is different. Okay. So for example, I am sitting in a chamber. I can't be writing the same prescription for everybody who comes to the door. Everybody is different. They have different risk factors. They have different symptoms. So let us assume you don't have any symptoms. Even then, and I will not suggest that you have a treadmill test done periodically. Then the question is, how periodically should we be doing it? Should we be doing it every 6 months, every 1 year, every 2 years? I don't know. There is one school of thought in medicine, and medicine is quite controversial subject. We doctors always tend to disagree on everything. One of my bosses, used to always say that you ask one question to 5 cardiologists, and they will come out with 10 different answers. So with that in mind, I am going to tell you what I think is right. I'm also going to tell you what some other people think. So a lot of people think that all of us should be undergoing periodical health checkups. Okay. And a lot of hospitals and diagnostic centers have these packages, health packages, where you go time to time, once a year, every 6 months, once every 2 years, and get yourself checked. It's called health checkup, executive health checkup, they call it. Okay. And it's done all over the world. It started in America and now it's come to India, and everybody does it, all the hospital diagnostic center, and a lot of people make a lot of money out of it. Now, if you actually look at the science behind it, all of you may be shocked to know that there is no scientific evidence that these health checkups do anything good.
Okay.
I'm going to be making a very strong statement here, but believe me, it is correct. In fact, there is a group of doctors in America who are so strongly against this that articles have been written in medical journals, cardiology journals about this, to say that, look, let the private hospitals do it if they want to make money, fine. But let the teaching hospitals, I'm talking of America, teaching hospitals in America, where they are training junior doctors and medical students to become doctors, let the teaching hospitals not start doing the same thing, because then you are teaching the wrong kind of medicine to junior doctors. So there is no scientific evidence that these health checkups make a difference to anybody. On the contrary, there is a lot of scientific evidence to say that these health checkups actually make things worse. So the question is, how do they make things worse? Because you undergo a health checkup, you are absolutely fit and well. And this is a hypothetical situation I'm explaining. You are absolutely fit and well, going to work, exercising, doing everything. You suddenly decide that, okay, fine, I want to check how I am doing. I will go for a health checkup. You go for a health checkup, and invariably something will be flagged. Oh, your sonography showed that the size of your prostate is slightly big, or your liver is slightly fatty, or your echo is slightly this wrong, something, your uric acid is slightly raised, and that something, which is in lot of cases inconsequential, leads to more unnecessary tests and sometimes more unnecessary treatment. Not only that, all this leads to a lot of unnecessary anxiety and stress to the patients. So I wish I could give a definitive answer to your question, because I know some of your listeners, some of the participants may think or may say that, oh, I know somebody who had a health checkup done and was found to be having a cancer in his stomach, or heart disease was detected. So these things do happen, but they are very rare. Most of the time, such things would have been detected anyway, because that would have led to symptoms at some point of time. So I personally, I am against these health packages. I have to be honest, as a routine thing for everybody. I think it's not required and it's dangerous, as I've just explained. Okay. But certain simple things like blood sugar checkup. So I think diabetes is so common that all of us should undergo a blood sugar check every year at least. I think after 40, not before that, after 40, it's a good idea to have your lipid profile checked every year. So these two tests, I think people should do, but I think it is not at all required to have your ECG done every year in the absence of symptoms. I think it is almost always not required to do a chest X-ray or an echocardiogram or a sonography of the abdomen unnecessarily. I am 46 now. Let me go on record to tell that I have never had an ECG done in my life so far.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. I mean, you've cleared so many. कितने खर्चे बचा दिए आपको आइडिया नहीं है because हम हर साल करवाते हैं 2 बार. Okay, we go to the next question.
50% नहीं तो 20% तो भिजवा देना जितेन भाई.
आपको भेज देंगे. Okay, next question is from Shilpa Bajaj. What can one do to help someone if he or she gets a first aid? So I think this question is answered already.
This has been answered.
Yeah, we've answered that question. Yes.
Nikhil Talreja, what are the symptoms of heart attack? Already got the answer. How can we determine it is an attack? Already answered. What is the immediate action required? Already answered. Mehra 59, can we check our heart ourselves at home? If yes, then how? Well, again, this is also answered. Secondly, which is the best test to diagnose the heart attack? This is also answered. Rajiv Mittal, how about the change in food habits? That is already answered. Sangeeta Somani, how should a marathon runner take care of their health, of their heart? What are the warnings or signal signs given by our heart that a runner always aware of very fatal consequences? You would like to answer this?
I will try to answer this. I will certainly try. So I don't think a runner should worry too much. If you're running marathons, you are probably fit anyway.
Wow.
A heart patient, somebody with a serious heart problem will not be able to run marathons. So if whoever asked this question, if somebody is a marathon runner, I think heart is the least of your worry. Of course, as I said earlier during the show, I can never say to anyone that, oh, you are a marathon runner, so you will never get a heart attack. So that I will never say. But if you are a marathon runner, then I am assuming you are a non-smoker because smokers cannot run marathons. I am assuming you probably don't have diabetic. I am assuming you are fit and well and thin and not overweight. So marathon runners are one of the fittest people on our planet. So their risk of having heart problem is very, very low. Very, very low. The lowest of all of us. Okay. So if you're a marathon runner, worry more about your knee joints and your, musculoskeletal system because you are more likely to see a doctor because of those reasons rather than a cardiologist.
Lovely. Sir, कुछ पानी पी लो ना आप.
फिर से पानी पिलाओगे?
क्या करोगे? Because questions are pouring like, as if कोई एक बहुत ही ऐसा opportunity मिल गया है कि उनको सारा answers चाहिए. So, okay, we go to the next question. Anju Thukral, I would like some information on congenital heart disease. Is it possible to have such a condition from birth, but lead a normal life and become aware of this condition in midlife? What is ASD, in brackets OS, with PAH? Is there any other cure other than surgery? Also, how much risk is there in the surgery? You want to repeat the question?
Yeah, it's okay. I got the drift. So yes, by definition, congenital heart disease means presence from birth. So congenital means something that you are born with. So if you say you have a congenital heart disease, that means you have a condition that you were born with. So it's a developmental defect. So when a baby is in the womb, the heart develops gradually, or all the organs, the entire body develops gradually. And sometimes there are defects in the developmental process. And these defects in the development of heart can lead to a lot of conditions. But one of the commonest is, as you mentioned, ASD or atrial septal defect. So as I explained at the beginning of the show, when I was explaining what the heart is, I said heart is like a house. And this house, the heart has got 4 chambers or 4 rooms. And in these rooms, in between the rooms, there are walls. Okay. So in between the 2 top chambers, the atrium, as we call it, there's a wall. And this wall is called interatrial septum. And if there is a hole in that wall, दीवार के बीच में छेद, तो उसको हम लोग बोलते हैं ASD. It's the commonest congenital heart disease, and usually it is not necessarily detected at birth because patients don't have any symptoms. And if you don't have an echocardiogram, then it will never be detected. And sometimes later on in life, some people start to develop breathless because they are getting old or whatever, and then somebody does an echocardiogram and the condition is detected. It's a very common condition, it's a very simple condition, and it's easily treatable. So there are two ways to get it treated. Either you can come to a cardiologist like me, and we can put a little device to seal that hole, and we can do that procedure from the leg. It's a very simple procedure. I have probably done 40, 50 in my life, and that's it. Sometimes it is not possible to close the hole from the leg because of the location where the hole is in the wall. And in those cases, it has to be done by an open heart surgery. Again, it's a simple surgery. It's like पुराने जमाने में होता था ना कि कपड़ा फट गया है, एक पैच लगा देते थे, कपड़ा सिलाई कर देते थे. So it's a bit like that. एक फटा हुआ एक छेदा है, तो surgeon puts a patch and then stitches it, and that's it. It's a very simple surgery. But nevertheless, you have to have your chest cut open. So it is a open heart surgery, but a simple open heart surgery.
Okay, good. Next question is by Simi Gupta. If an aunt or uncle in your family has ischemic heart, what chances are there that you may also have it? And what tests should be done to determine the same?
Yeah, so again, we go back to the risk of having heart disease. When we talked about that, we mentioned that there are modifiable risk factors and non-modifiable risk factors. And among the non-modifiable risk factors, I said genetic, so genes, which means family history. So if your parents have a risk of heart disease, you have a risk of heart disease. If your siblings, your brothers or sisters have a risk of heart disease, you have a risk of heart disease. Uncle, auntie, not if your uncle has it and your father does not have it, then you probably have slightly lower risk, but you may have some genetic influence. That's all I can say. The family history is important. Immediate family, more important. Your brothers, sisters, your parents, grandparents, that is more important.
Okay, we go to the next question. Renu Agarwal ki taraf se. Very simple question. How much water should a person with a serious heart condition drink?
However much you want, it depends on what the heart condition is. So if your heart is normal, in the sense the heart function is normal, you can drink as much as you want, it's not a problem. But if you have a weak heart, then we advise patients to drink less water.
Okay. What are the by Kavita Maheshwari, what are the superfoods for a healthy heart? I think superfoods.
Any specific
Superfood
diet?
for a healthy heart. If anybody else knows, let me know. I will start eating them as well. I don't think there are any superfoods. Okay. Let us discuss about this food thing. There's a full industry that survives on this superfood. There's a superfood industry. There's a vitamin industry. There's all sorts of industry on this planet. I, as a doctor, I am as confused as anybody else on this planet about what is healthy, what is not. Okay. So I read mainly in newspapers, sometimes even in journals, that a particular food is healthy. Coffee is good for heart. 2 months later, coffee is bad. In the past, butter was bad. Now they say butter is good. I was always taught as a medical student, ghee is bad. Saturated fat is bad. Now there are people who are saying ghee is good. So it's very, very confusing. Nobody knows what is good, what is bad. And when people ask me this question, I get confused. And again, this is what I say to my patients is, eat and drink everything. Apart from tobacco, which is bad in any form, everything else is healthy. Everything in moderation is good. Anything in excess, even water, is bad. So if you like cheese, by all means have cheese occasionally. Don't eat too much of it. I remember one particular patient who comes to my mind who had a heart attack. And almost 6, he used to come and see me regularly. And after 6 months, when he came to me, he was kind of literally begging to me in my chamber, "Ki, Dr. Saab, please allow me to have dahi bada." And I said, "When did I tell you not to have dahi bada?" And he said, "Look, I love dahi bada and my family does not allow me to have dahi bada." And I said, "Look, it's not a problem. If you love dahi bada so much, and if you have dahi bada once or twice a month, one piece, it's not going to do any harm to you. Let him be happy and have his dahi bada once a month, twice a month. What will he do? Nothing. If you love samosa, by all means, don't eat samosa every day or bhujia every day. But if you eat it occasionally in small quantities, it's not going to kill anybody." Okay. So that's the broad answer to your question. Coming back to your superfoods question, again, I think there's an industry behind it. Industry that promotes certain food to make money. That's my thinking. So it's a bit like type of alcohol. So if you go to France, they will say that, "Oh, drink red wine. That is the best alcohol to prevent heart attack." If you go to Russia, they will say, "Oh, drink vodka. That makes you live longer." If you go to Scotland, they will say, "Scotch means the water of life. This is what you should drink for a long life." So everybody, all of them may be right. Everybody is out there to promote their product, what they grow. Okay. There's an olive oil industry that sells olive oil. So all of us buy olive oil thinking it's good. I have to say there may be some truth in it, because there is some evidence to say that a Mediterranean type of diet is probably very healthy for heart. Okay, because people who live on the Mediterranean coast, the Spanish, the French, the Italians, the Greeks, they have lower risk of heart attack compared to almost everyone on the planet apart from the Japanese. So Mediterranean diet is good, but that diet is lots of vegetables, fish, olive oil, lot of sunshine, not much stress, not much work, overall very healthy living. So whether it's the effect of genetics, effect of their diet, effect of the weather, I don't know. But the Mediterranean coast, these people are blessed with everything in life. Good food, good scenery, good beaches, and less heart attacks.
One question from my side. How do you have so much of patience? Unlimited questions pouring in and you're not showing any stress on your face.
I deal with far worse than that on a day-to-day basis, my friend. So this is
so that allows me to go on for a little more time, because
this is a walk in the park. Yes, go on.
Thank you so much. This is such a sweetheart. Okay, Praveen, Manoj, have you gathered some more questions? Because the questions have gone up to 99 now.
Yes, that's the problem. We'll have to draw the line somewhere. We've already run out of time, and some of them are very specific questions. So I'm sure specific questions are better avoided on a forum like this. There are very specific questions from patient to patient.
So,
I think ideally they should.
I don't think people should ask personal questions, their own problems in a public forum.
Yes.
So people should only ask generic questions rather than personal questions.
Okay, so Anjan, would you like to?
Before we go to your other questions, Anjan sir, would you like to give number of your secretary or somebody who they want to connect with in future? Because I see a lot of people wanting to connect with you in the times to come. If you could do it as a favor for Papa JC Talk Show, it will be a great favor to all of us.
Okay, I can do that. If you want to write it and give it later, whatever.
Yes,
I can.
Can you give me the number, please?
People can ring my secretary. His name is Tapas.
Tapas, okay.
And this is also an interesting story. I will tell you after I give you his number. It's 98361
98361
12312.
12312.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'll keep repeating. Okay, what is the story you're talking about?
So the story is, this patient of mine once texted me to ask me my secretary's number. And it kind of, secretary always means female. In India, secretary always means a beautiful girl. So he texted me saying, "Sir, can you please send me your secretary's number? I would like to speak to her." So, I texted him back saying, my secretary is a male. Do you still want to speak to him?
Lovely. That was a good
Sorry,
one.
carry on.
Manoj, questions from you.
Okay,
please.
so Anjan, would you like to tell the audience about what is a pacemaker and when do one needs a pacemaker and what's the function of a pacemaker?
Manoj, one thing more, that CT angio.
Yeah, CT angio as well. Please cover that as well.
Yes, sorry,
Angio
some
versus
you
CT.
Jiten asked that question. I
You missed that out.
it. So CT angiogram is just a test for the heart. Just like a treadmill test is a test and an angiogram is a test, and CT angiogram probably falls somewhere in between. So it's an anatomical test. It allows you to look inside inside a patient's heart arteries without that person having to get admitted to the hospital. So it's a non-invasive test. And it can be done in a diagnostic center. It's not as accurate as an angiogram. In fact, I would say its accuracy is quite low, but it's a reasonably good test, especially in young people. For people who are more than 60, 65, it's not a very good test because as we grow older, a lot of calcium tends to get deposited on our heart arteries, and you can't see inside those arteries. But in young people who have some cardiac symptoms or who have a doubt, or we have a doubt about whether they have any cardiac problem or not, or blockage or not, it's a very good test to find out.
Okay, Manoj.
Pacemaker?
Yes. So coming to pacemaker. So again, I go back to when we started and I explained to everybody what the heart is and the structure of the heart. So I said that just like a house has its electrical wires that provides electricity to the house, the heart has got its own electrical conduction system. So heart has got its own generator that generates electricity inside the heart. And then that electricity propagates down the heart to give electricity to the heart muscles so that these muscles can contract. Okay. If there is a problem with the electrical conduction system of the heart, so either the generator is not producing electricity or it has become weak, so it is producing electricity at a slower rate, or the conduction of the electricity in the heart via these wires inside the heart. I mean, they are like wires functionally. So the conduction of the electricity within the heart is pathological, or there is a problem with that. And the heart is not conducting electricity normally, it is stopping intermittently. So what happens is when that happens, the heart rate slows down. From a normal heart rate of say 70 to 80, it may slow down to 30 or 40. Or sometimes the heart stops for a few seconds. So normally the heart is beating all the time, tap, 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 tap. And then what happens is it stops. So tap, 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 stop for 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds. Then it starts again. And when the heart stops, then blood supply to the body stops. Blood supply to the brain stops. So the patients have a blackout. They faint. They lose consciousness. So pacemaker is a useful device that is used to treat patients who have a problem with the electrical conduction system of the heart. So heart rate is slow or heart stops. And then a pacemaker is a small device, a very small device. It's about this big. That's it. And as thin as maybe 2 or 3 coins put on top of each other. And it is implanted in the chest wall here, and it has wires that go all the way to the heart. And the procedure to implant a pacemaker takes about half an hour, 40 minutes. That's it. And then that device, pacemaker, produces electricity and gives electricity to the heart because the heart's own electrical system is not working. So an analogy of all this will be that you have a house, you have a electricity system, electricity wires in your house, and sometimes these wires are failing or there's a problem with the generation of electricity. So you install a generator in your house. Whenever the electricity fails, the generator makes sure that the house gets electricity. So pacemaker is like a generator. It's there to help you. If the heart stops, it will make sure the heart keeps running so that you don't faint, you don't lose consciousness. That's what it is.
Okay, I have a very pertinent question, Dr. Siotia. Is that, you are a wonderful person and, you are famous or infamous for one reason, in the sense that, more than half your patient, more than half the people who visits you are said that kuch nahi hai aapko, aap ghar jao, aaram karo. Okay. Typically,
Number maybe more than half, but go on. Thank you.
Yes. So this is the fact. This is the fact. I would say almost 80% of the patients who comes to you, you typically tell them कि आपको कुछ भी नहीं है, आप घर जाइए, आराम कीजिए. But not everybody can reach you. We during the initial discussion, you categorically mentioned people are scared to go to hospital. So this is the reason why people are scared to go to hospital, because not everybody can reach to Dr. Anjan Siotia, and other places wherever you go, there is a problem. आपको angioplasty की दरकार नहीं है, angioplasty, angiography and blah blah and this that all that happens. आज अंजन सियोटिया के पास जाने के लिए 2 महीने का अपॉइंटमेंट है, कौन वेट कर सकता है if किसी को हार्ट का प्रॉब्लम है. So what should a normal human being or a general person, मतलब एक बंदा क्या करे?
Now that's a difficult question for me to answer. I mean, I can't answer that question. You tell me, what can I do? I mean, if I cannot, I can. No, I'm honestly asking you, what can I do? I cannot work for more than a certain hours in a day. I can only see so many patients in a day. I can't work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week all the time. So I have limited working hours. I try to stick to that, although it's not always possible. But then I have to come home, spend time with my family, sleep, eat, so that I'm ready for work next day. If there are more people who want to see me than what I can see, then a waiting list is created. It's not created by me deliberately, right? You tell me the solution to this. I will be very happy to.
The only solution which we see is probably, try and motivate your fraternity to become Anjan Siotia, not become Anjan Siotia, or, work on his model.
It's not fair to make such statement. I think there are lots of very good doctors who are doing a fantastic job.
I'm sure there are quite a few, but
Manoj, we have a lot of people waiting to ask questions, and Dr. Saab ko hum log bahut der se hold karke rakhe. Can we do a very short round with these people, because they are very, very anxiously waiting for a very long time.
Any direct questions?
Dr. Saab, can I allow them to open up so that?
Of course.
Okay. Now, friends at the forum, if you have not got your answer to your specific question, because he has mostly covered all the questions through these generic ones, and if your answers are still not there, and if you really want to talk to him, apart from your personal issues about medications and all that, please raise your hand once again, and I'll invite you to talk. Can we have questions? We'll have a small question answer round now. 2 people have raised hands.
3.
Okay, to start with, we have.
Oh my God. You have 10 now.
From XT. Now, what is this XT? Can XT come forward and ask a question? XT.
Yes. Can you hear me? Hello.
Yes,
I can.
Yeah. So, sir, I was asking regarding hypertension. Like, if a person is hypertensive and taking medicines evening and morning, if he's seen to be, again, his BP rises around 180, 190, what can we do if he's already taken a medicine? और फिर अगर BP बढ़ गया बीच में, तो हम लोग क्या कर रहे हैं उनका? मतलब, how can it go down? What should we do?
You take medicines. I mean, see, worldwide data is that 50% patients who take BP medicine, 50%. Okay, let me give you the figures for blood pressure. If, for example, 100 people on the planet have high blood pressure, okay,
Yes.
50 people do not even take medications.
Okay, sir.
Okay, of the 50 who take medications, only half, which means 25, will have good blood pressure control.
Okay, sir.
So of all the BP patients, all the patients with high blood pressure who take medications, only half will have good BP control on the existing medications. So then the question is, what do you do? The first thing is you check your blood pressure on a regular basis. Regular does not mean 10 times a day.
Okay.
Okay, Monica Parasrampuri. Okay, sorry.
And do not rush to your doctor every time you see the pressure is high. because nobody on the planet has the same blood pressure in a 24-hour period.
Okay, sir.
So everybody has BP fluctuation. At times it's low, at times it's high, at times it's normal. So don't change medicine on the basis of a single reading, but take multiple readings. So see, if you check your blood pressure once a week and in a month all the readings are showing that your blood pressure is 170, 180, that means you need to do something about it. You need to increase your BP medicine. You need to change your BP medicine. Do something about it. Seek medical help. But if you see that sometimes it's normal, sometimes it's low, sometimes it's high, then it's probably okay. Your
Okay.
average is probably okay. And there are tests that we can do these days. There's a test called 24-hour blood pressure monitoring that we can do. We can put a monitor on you and check your BP over a 24-hour period. And that's a very good test to find out what your BP control is. You can get that test done. And then depending upon the reading, you can have your medications altered if required.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Lovely. Okay, next we have Monica Parasrampuria. If you've not got your answer, please ask.
Yes, good afternoon, sir. I'd like to know, my mother-in-law fell in the bathroom around 15 days back. She was suggested Myospas, which brought no relief to her. Then we consulted another doctor, which referred Movera 15. Now she's had around 20 tablets of Movera 15, and for the past 2 days she's
Let me stop you there. Sorry. I don't think you should ask questions related to individual patient, personal questions here. These are public forum. You don't want to be discussing somebody's personal problems on a public forum.
I'm so sorry.
And this does not look like a cardiac problem as well. This looks more like a muscular problem.
Okay, Harish ji, are you there?
Yeah. I want to ask two questions. One is blood thinner medicine. Is it required that after 40 you can take it regularly without any problem?
Definitely not.
Definitely not. And one more, what about the multivitamin or vitamin tablets which many doctors subscribe?
You can take
supplements.
vitamins. There is no harm in taking vitamin tablets. By all means, take them. But as far as science is concerned, as of now, in the last 100 years of medicine, modern medicine, not a single scientific study has shown any benefits of taking multivitamin tablets.
Okay. Thank you.
But take them if you like. They won't do any harm.
Yeah.
Especially if you are vegetarian and if your
Specific
diet
vitamin?
is insufficient.
Specific vitamin tablets?
Sorry?
Specific vitamin tablets?
No, there are no specific vitamin tablet. You can take whatever you like. All are same. All are useless.
We are taking a lot of time of the doctor, and now let's keep it to last two questions for the session, and let's wrap it up because we are dragging it a little more longer than others. NG, we have NG in the queue with the hands raised. You want to ask?
Hello, doctor. This is Neeraj Gupta here.
Hi.
We've had a very nice session so far, sir. Thank you so much. I have two specific questions, sir. Number one is we've heard that there is some inflammation in the limbs due to the kidneys as well as the heart. I mean, both of these things are responsible for inflammation on the lower limbs. So could you just talk to us about this and what can be done if a person is already a kidney patient and is taking care of it? And so how is the heart responsible for creating inflammation in the lower limbs? And what can be done?
Yeah, I don't know what you mean by inflammation in the lower limb.
Like there is a sujan, the legs get swollen.
Yeah, so that is not inflammation. That is swelling of the legs.
Okay, swelling. Okay.
Swelling of the legs can be due. It can be due to heart. It can be due to kidney problem. It can be due to other diseases. Okay, liver disease sometimes. It can be due to blockage in the vein of the limbs. It can be
that has been excluded out, sir. It has been excluded.
Yeah, it can also be due to medication. For example, BP medicine. Some BP medicine can lead to swelling of the legs. So a lot of things can lead to swelling of the legs. Heart is also one of them. When you have cardiomyopathy, when you have heart failure, when the heart is weak, then you can get fluid retention in the body, which is manifested as swelling of the ankles, because by gravity, water tends to go down to the legs.
And sir, lower heartbeat, is it another sign of cardiac myopathy? I mean, very low pulse rate, sorry, not BP.
No.
Lower
Usually not. On the contrary, if you have a cardiomyopathy, then usually the heart rate goes up rather than low.
Any
Usually.
particular reason for the pulse rate to go down, like 40, 45?
Yeah, so I said earlier during the show that it's usually due to a disease of the electrical conduction system of the heart.
Okay.
Okay. Sometimes it can be due to certain medications as well.
Yeah,
Sometimes
she's
it
on
can be due to other
multiple,
conditions.
She's on
Yeah,
multiple
other
hypertensive
conditions like
medicines. Yeah.
thyroid,
I think-
thyroid, and all that.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. And one last question. Ashish Chamadia ji, are you there? Ashish Chamadia ji, the rest please go mute. The rest please go mute. Ashish Chamadia ji, are you there? I think he's off. Anyways, let us Dr. Saab, आप तो छा गए बस, आप तो छा गए, लिटरली छा गए। आज पहली बार ऐसा हुआ कि 100 से ऊपर लोग यहाँ पे और करीबन 30-40 लोग बाहर में। मैंने क्या है मतलब, I don't
You are a
understand.
famous man, Jiten. You are a famous man. It's
मेरे
all,
को तो कोई
all
पूछता ही
yours.
नहीं।
Yeah.
सर फेमस होता तो इसके पहले वाले सर फेमस होता तो पहले वाले शो में भी ऐसा ही होना चाहिए था ना।
Popularity is increasing. You see, stock is going up.
But I take it as a compliment. I take it as a compliment. डॉक्टर साहब, आपने एक बहुत अच्छी क्वेश्चन करी थी, आपने एक बहुत अच्छा एक्सप्लेन किया था that heart has 4 chambers. Does it mean that people who are having multiple affairs can have one in every chamber?
Yes, yes. That's a brilliant idea. हर कमरे में एक-एक रख दो.
Problem solve हो जाएगी. Okay,
Yes,
on the lighter note, we are ending it here. Before that, I would like to invite all of you tomorrow. Let us play music to please our hearts. And Dr. Saab, you should also join because tomorrow we are
Got
having DJ Girish here. He will teach us how to please our hearts through music. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for coming in. And it was such a wonderful session for all of us. And I'm sorry we could not answer all the questions because after all, I had requested him only for 30-40 minutes and I've taken more than 1.5 hours. He is here for almost 2 hours now. और वैसे हम जाते हैं उनसे मिलने के लिए तो 5 मिनट के लिए 2 घंटा वेट करना पड़ता है. Thank you so much, Dr. Saab. It was an honor to have you here. You've answered so many questions throughout.
It was a pleasure, Jiten and Manoj and Ravi. Thank you so much for having me. I must admit it was very enjoyable. And thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, thank you. और दोबारा अगर हम
No,
लोग
sir, we should be
जरूरत
thankful
पड़ा
that we
होगा,
got the opportunity to be on online.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Thank you so much. Ravi, can we go offline?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, sir. We are signing off. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sanjay. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.